So you want to fix your bad aim, or maybe you want to improve your controller aim on Apex? Look no further. I'm about to make the ultimate sensitivity guide and show you guys how to find the best sensitivity that fits you. I'm gonna get into things like default versus ALC settings, little mistakes that you could be making that makes your aim worse than it is. With that being said, this is gonna be a long one, so make sure y'all drop a like. Y'all don't want to miss a single second of this, so make sure y'all watch the whole video. I promise you, once you watch this, you're gonna learn a lot. And if you have any questions, make sure y'all drop a comment. I'll try to help y'all. With that being said, let's get into it. Alright, YouTube, so we about to get right into this guide. I'm not gonna hold y'all time. I'm about to try and do this all in one take. This is all off the dome, so bear with me. So we're gonna start off with the first thing. So FOV. Before we even like get into sensitivity, you have to realize FOV does affect the way your sense feels. So right now I play on 120 FOV. If you want to know how to do that, just look up a video. It does require you to use a config, so you won't get banned for it, but you know, it is like an outside, you know, thing. And I know console players, y'all can only go up to 110 FOV. So, you know, I'm about to explain FOV and how it affects your sensitivity, right? So let's say, for example, I put my FOV on 90. My screen is all zoomed in and stuff, right? So if I shoot my gun and like try to control my recoil, it's going to feel way different than what I'm used to. Why? Because your screen is so zoomed in to the point where it makes your sensitivity feel slightly faster. And on top of that, since your sensitivity feels faster, your kick on the recoil is gonna feel like you have more recoil. In reality, like it's all the same on every FOV, but you know, it kind of gives you a different sensation, right? It's gonna feel a little clunky, a little weird. And on top of that, you're getting like a lot more screen shake too when you shoot your gun. So I mean, it's all muscle memory. You could be good on this FOV, but in my honest opinion, it's not really that, how do I say, it's not really optimal. So in my opinion, I would recommend you stay on anywhere from like 104 FOV and up. I do know like some pros play on 104, 106, 108, but the vast majority of pros and people in general play on 110. I know console players, it might be easier for y'all to play on a lower FOV, so try your best to go as high as you can. So I just showed y'all 90 FOV, so I'm on 110 right now, and I can, you know, I can track easier. My aim feels a lot smoother and whatnot. So you could try this for yourself in the range and like just shoot the dummies, try to track, you know, see how your aim feels and whatnot. It definitely does feel different. It's not a placebo or anything. Like FOV does affect your sense. Like that's a real thing. So yeah, just keep that in mind. I do play on 120, so I feel like I do my best on 120 FOV. Even versus like 110, I feel like my aim is just not as good on 110. So we got the FOV portion out the way, so just keep that in mind. Find a FOV that suits you. Practice in the range with it. This could make or break your aim, so it might not even be you that has bad aim. It might be like really your FOV might be trash, who knows? So like I said, it's all personal preference. So yeah, we're gonna get into the actual sensitivity guide right now. All right, y'all, so we're gonna start with the default sensitivity. So this is the default right here. And I'm gonna be real, to keep it a buck, default has better aim assist values. I don't know why it's like this. Respawn just doesn't know how to balance the game out, code the game, but default has way better aim assist than ALCs. Why? Like I said, I don't know. I can't explain that. So one thing about default is there's not really too much customization. However, you don't need that much customization. So really, you have your actual sensitivity, right? You have your response curve. So you have linear, you have classic. I do know some people play on steady, you know, even though it's not that popular. Then you have fine aim, high velocity. Nobody really uses those to my knowledge. Then you have dead zone. You have none, small dead zone, and large. Large, just stay away from that completely. So let's talk about default, man. So default is pretty straightforward. I'm gonna be honest. Like I said, most pros use default, if not all pros, and you have to think about it. Why? Because, I mean, it literally has better aim assist. I do remember Verhost. He was playing on ALCs for like, I think like a couple months, and he switched back and said that he's just way better on 4-3. So if a pro player is saying that, how do you think you're gonna perform, right? So if you want the best aim possible, in my opinion, I would just stick to default. Now the thing with default is, in my opinion, you know, I do have a lot of, not a lot, but I have like good experience with default. because I play on ALCs, but in my opinion, your look sensitivity, when you go higher than 4, I feel like that's when default starts to feel a little weird. Because if y'all don't know, a default has built-in ramp up time and delay. No, not delay. So default has built-in ramp up time and boost that you cannot change. And on top of that, the ADS, your y-axis, or I mean your x-axis, so left and right, and your y-axis are different. Your y-axis is much slower, and to be honest, I don't like the way that feels. I know, like, you know, you can do good with it, but sometimes it's about the feel, and you know, if you don't like the way something feels, then it's gonna throw you off. And I personally don't like the way that feels. But then with the actual look sensitivity, so if you go any higher than 4, you're not gonna really get too much aim assist. So I'm gonna put my dead zone on none, and I'm gonna explain why right now to show y'all something. So as y'all can see, if I walk up to the dummy right now, try to activate my rotational aim assist, I'm not touching the right stick at all. And as you can see, my camera's moving right. Now, let's say I put this on 5. It's still gonna do it, as you can see, but it's not gonna be as strong, because you have to take in consideration, like, when you're actually fighting somebody, you have to track them. You can't just like move your left stick and it aims for you. That's not how it works. You still have to track, right? And it's like, I don't know how to explain it, man. Like 5 feels very, it doesn't feel too fluid in my opinion. Like it kind of starts off slow, and then when you move around, like it just feels like too fast. It's not even fast, it's just like the boost, it just doesn't feel fluid and whatnot, right? Let's put this on 6. As you can see, I'm still getting like the rotational aim assist, right? But let's bump this up to like 7 or 8, man. And as you can see, if I do the same thing, I just don't get any aim assist at all. Which is why I'm gonna say, this is my next point, like the higher sensitivity you go on this game, even with ALCs, like it just makes the game like harder. And I'm gonna be real, I'm not even getting aim assist at all. And as you see, I just don't get aim assist, bro. So it's like, even if you wanted to play a high sensitivity, it's just not the optimal thing to do. Cause like, yeah, as you see, like I'm trying to track right now and I just like can't do it. And mind you, this is a dummy strafing left and right. So imagine an actual player that's like strafing, doing movement, jumping around when you're trying to track. It's just, you can't do it. So that's like kind of out. So it's really out of our control. Like, I guess the way the game is coded and the way the game is made, and like Respawn just, I don't know, like high sensitivity is just like not the move on this game for real. And like I'm trying to track, it's really hard. And to be honest, I don't know a single player that plays on max sensitivity on default. I know somebody used to play on 7. He was a huge, I think it was Scrappy, like the Loba main guy. I know he used to play on 7. I think he played on Classic though, I'm not sure, but you know, it just feels weird, man. So like when it comes to default, I would suggest, you know, for the average player, I would stay below 6. 6 is kind of pushing it. I would say like stay below 5. But really 4 and below, you're gonna get like the best aim assist. And one thing about the ADS, the X and the Y axis, so that's different. If you don't like the way that feels, if you want your ADS to feel the same like all around, and you can get past that, so the way you can do that is you can come into the ALCs, turn this on, and then you want to turn your per optic on, right? And your per optic is going to apply to your actual sensitivity. So I'm going to show y'all right now. Put this on a random number, right? Keep this on, you turn this off. As you can see, my sensitivity is, you know, changed, right? So, you know, we have it on 3 right now. So what you want to do, you put it on 1, and then you can come back into the ALCs, turn that on, per optic, and then you can put it on 3, or you could put it on 4. You could go in between. You could customize your ADS like a little bit more doing this. So let's say I want to put it on, I don't know, 3, or maybe higher than 3, right? You want to turn the ALCs back off, and boom. Now I have 3 ADS, and it's the same on the X and the Y axis. Now the reason you might want to do this is because, like I said, if you don't like the way having a different X and Y axis sense feels, then you could go ahead and do this and everything feels even throughout the board and whatnot. So that's if you want to do that. You don't have to. Like I said, it's personal preference. You know, if you like the feeling of this better versus having like a default ADS, and go ahead and do that. All right, so my next point with default is the response curve. So you have linear and classic. Those are the two most popular. The meta right now, like majority of pro players are using like linear no dead zone. I know, like I think like last season or maybe 2 seasons ago, like linear small dead zone was the meta, but they changed it for whatever reason. I don't know. They're both really good. Me personally, I prefer small, but when it comes to response curve, in my opinion, after like playing the game for a long time on different response curves, I noticed, in my honest opinion, I don't think this is placebo either, but the higher response curve you go, the stickier your aim assist is. So I'm on classic right now, and I'm gonna be honest, like the effort it takes to aim is like very minimal on classic, right? So I don't even play classic. I'm not used to classic at all. And the fact that I could still like beam and track and whatnot just goes to show that classic is really like slept on. In my opinion, it's slept on. I know people say, you know, linear makes tracking easier. I'm gonna be honest, you can have the same tracking on classic if you just practice. Your margin of error on classic is way smaller, because when you move your right stick to, you know, just control recoil or just in general, it's more of a wide range of motion versus linear. It's like raw input. So the second I touch my stick, it's moving. It's so sensitive. So like you really have to be on point when using linear. And honestly, linear is not really for casuals. Like you have to like put in some time when it comes to like aim training and just practicing and getting used to getting used to your sensitivity and whatnot. Because you might be a person that can play hours and hours a day and, you know, put in a lot of time with practicing and whatnot. But if you're a person that barely plays the game and you're trying to switch to linear, that might not be the move for you. But at the end of the day, it's all about how you feel, the personal preference and whatnot, and muscle memory. So, you know, y'all can mess around with it. But in my honest opinion, I feel like classic is really slept on and probably like the best when it comes to just aiming and beaming. Even at long ranges, classic is way better, because as you can see, if I like try to play on linear, it's possible, right? But at the same time, the effort I have to put in to like really control this recoil is a lot. Like I have to focus, and on top of that, it comes with like a lot of practice and whatnot. I don't even play linear no dead zone, but you know, I'm pretty good. I'm like pretty decent on every sensitivity, not gonna lie. So you really just have to put in the work, build that muscle memory up. But if you want to skip that, and not even skip that because classic has like a skill gap too or whatever, but like I said, in my opinion, I think classic is the best when it comes to default, and really just in general, I think classic is the best. So that's about it. So anyways, that's it for the default. We're gonna go ahead and jump into the ALCs. If y'all have any more questions with default, make sure y'all leave a comment down below. But I'm gonna go ahead and turn on my ALCs right now. All right, y'all, so as y'all can see, these are my current ALC settings right now, so y'all can look at them real quick. I've been using these for about, honestly, it hasn't even been a month. It's probably been like 3 weeks. Maybe it has been a month, I don't know. But I'm really enjoying these ALCs. Now, I used to play on a way higher sends. For people that actually watch me, y'all know I used to play on max sends. Even like with the hybrid settings, I used to play on a higher sends, a higher ADS. I used to play on 180 ADS, right? But the thing is, Respawn has been doing like shadow nerfs with aim assist. Like whenever Ballistic came out, they did shadow nerf aim assist. And no, that's not a placebo. Like a lot of people said, like it feels different, man. So it's nothing we can really do about that. So to compensate for that, I had to lower my sensitivity, because I don't know, I just couldn't beam how I used to on a higher sensitivity, so I had to lower it and whatnot. All right, so the reason you should be using ALCs, or not should be, but if you don't like the way default feels, try ALCs. If you don't like the way linear feels, maybe it's too sensitive for you. If you don't like the way classic feels, it might be too stiff or whatever to your liking, go ahead, try ALCs. So I'm about to break it down to you. So the response curve, 10 response curve is classic, 0 is linear, Me personally, I play on 5, so 5 is like 50-50, so half linear, half classic. And the thing with ALCs is you can customize this, so I could put it to 2, 3, 4, 5, whatever. You just shouldn't go higher than 10, because higher than 10 there's really like no point, to be honest with you. And on top of that, you could customize the dead zone way more. So y'all know on default there's none, small, and large. On dead zone, you can go from 0 all the way up to 50%. You know, so it's way more precise. In my honest opinion, I would not recommend going anything over like 5%. If you're getting like crazy drift on like 5% or 6%, you need to get a different controller at that point, in my opinion. So right now, I'm gonna break down how dead zone and response curve, outer threshold, how they all like tie in together right now. All right, so I play on 1% dead zone, which is pretty much like no dead zone. It's not exactly none, but it's pretty much like the same thing. So the thing with dead zone is, as you can see, I am barely moving my stick right now. And what dead zone is, it's in the name. It's a dead zone. If you have 0%, that means you have no dead zone, meaning that the moment you touch your stick, it activates your camera movement. Now let's say you want to put it on, I don't know, like 8%. Y'all see the blue ring right here? So I have to move my stick up to that blue circle to activate my camera. So right now, I'm moving my right stick right now and it's not moving. And I have to keep on moving it until it gets to that blue circle. As you can see, it's starting to move now. So this is way, way higher than like what I'm used to. Because like I said, I use 1%. So this feels like very stiff to me. And to be honest, I just can't really aim. I can't control my recoil how I would like to. And on top of that, higher dead zones at long ranges, in my opinion, it's not the move. I mean, you can get used to it if you put in enough time, but I feel like, you know, the skill gap is higher with no dead zone because you have control no matter what. If you have a higher dead zone, you're just not gonna have as much control over your right stick and it's gonna mess with you. Even if you do get used to it, I feel like, you know, a lower dead zone is the way to go. So the thing is, with a lower dead zone, you do get more control, however your margin of error increases. So since your stick is so sensitive now, since you have no dead zone or whatever, you really have to, you know, you really have to focus on tracking, because one wrong move and, you know, you can over track, under track, you know, whatever the case is. However, it does make it easier at the same time because, like I said, you get more control. So it's kind of like a give or take thing. There are pros and cons to like every setting in the game. So you really have to find what works for you. But I use 1% because I feel like when you do have a little bit of dead zone, your margin of error kind of goes down. My sensitivity, it doesn't feel like too sensitive, but at the same time I do have control. So even like playing on, I don't know, 2%, that's still a pretty low dead zone, but at the same time it's not no dead zone. So you're losing out on a little bit of control, but at the same time your right stick is not as sensitive, so it might make it easier for you to aim. So this is personal preference. Go ahead, play with this. Like I said, in my opinion, I wouldn't go over like 5%. I don't know anybody that plays over 5%. If you have to go over 5%, then it's probably because you're trying to compensate for your drift. And like I said, if you're getting drift on like a high dead zone, then it's time for a new controller. So response curve, so this makes your sensitivity more sensitive, right? So linear is raw input, meaning the moment you touch your stick, you know, it's raw input. And it makes your sensitivity way, way more sensitive. And the lower response curve you go, it's harder to aim. And like I said earlier, in my honest opinion, your aim assist kind of decreases. So you kind of have to rely on tracking a lot more. You have to rely on yourself, you know, you can't rely on aim assist as much. And on top of that, at long ranges, controlling recoil is hard because you're barely moving your stick as soon as you try to control recoil. So you really have to put in time when it comes to tracking, controlling recoil and whatnot. If y'all want me to make a recoil control guide, just leave a comment, like, subscribe, let me know, and I will make one. So let's say if 0 feels too sensitive, I could put it on 3. As you can see, the curve goes up a little bit. See, the higher I put it, the bigger the curve gets. And basically what this curve means, it represents like, let's say when you first start moving your stick, it starts out slow, but then the more you move it, it gets gradually faster. So with this, it kind of makes it easier to aim, like I said, which is the reason why I said like classic is kind of easier. You get more aim assist, all that type of stuff. But with the response curve, the dead zone, and just sensitivity in general, you do have to just play around with it, see what works for you and whatnot. So let's say your aim is already shaky. I feel like a lower response curve is not for you. If you have a steady thumb and you want to try linear, go ahead. At the end of the day, it's whatever you perform best on. So just go ahead, go in the range, put in some time, stop playing pub, stop dying every 2 seconds, and just go in the range and actually practice and, you know, become a better player. Stop wasting your time. Last thing, outer threshold. This is important, but it's not really that important. So outer threshold, y'all see the orange ring right here. So instead of you know, pushing your right stick all the way to the right or the left or whatever direction on your controller to get the maximum output, this orange ring becomes the maximum output, meaning that means as soon as I move my right stick to that orange ring, I get the maximum output. It's no point in me flicking my stick all the way to the left or right to get the maximum output, basically. So this setting, you really should keep this on default. The default is 2%. I personally use 1% because I feel like the aim is smoother. No, that's not a placebo. It's actually smoother. I'm gonna keep the buck. I've seen people play on 3%, 4%. I think anything higher than 4 is kind of pointless. And you know, if you play like a really high outer threshold, like what the hell are you doing? Real shit. So don't do that. Next thing, the sensitivity. So yaw speed and pitch speed. Well, yaw speed, that's your x-axis, so going left to right. Pitch is going up and down, right, which is y-axis. So here's the thing, here's the beauty with ALCs. So right, this is my current sensitivity, right? So, and then turning extra yaw pitch, that's what boost is. So I'm gonna turn my boost off, right? So this is my sensitivity. It's very slow, right? But you know, let's say you're fighting somebody, it makes it very, very, very easy to track. But at the same time, the sensitivity is a little too slow when it comes to like just mobility and movement in general. So the thing with AOCs, you don't have to do this. This is, you know, when you get a little bit more advanced. But let's say you want a low sense, but at the same time, you want to have a high sensitivity. You want to be able to 180 and turn around fast, right? This is when the boost comes in handy. So as y'all can see, I put it to 250, right? So when I'm aiming, right, I still have the 220 hip fire. But then as soon as I put my right stick all the way to the right or the left or like max output, I get max sensitivity. This might feel a little weird at first, but honestly, this is very helpful because like you can still have a low sensitivity. However, you know, when it's time to like move around, do 180s, turn on people, you could do that. You know, you have max sensitivity. So it's like you have 2 in 1. Now, some people, y'all might not like the way this feels or whatever. So like I said, you have to just, you know, do your research and figure out what works for you and whatnot. So I used to play on max sensitivity back in the day. I played max for like a very long time. I was good, very good at it too. However, I gave up max sensitivity for consistency. I felt like, you know, I was good at it, but at the same time, it would be like certain gunfights I would lose when I know I shouldn't have lost that. And it would be like a bad player too. Like I'm only losing because like the sensitivity is just too fucking fast. I'm overcompensating and stuff. Meanwhile, this kid that's sitting on a milk crate, 60-inch TV, he just fried me because he's playing, you know, 4-3 Classic or something. And that's just how the game goes. So, you know, what I did, I just had to lower my sensitivity. I used to play on like 320, I think. Yeah, I used to play on like 320 max sense or max boost. I mean, I used to play on 180 ADS, which is very fast. I think that's equivalent to like, I think 6 ADS, which is very fucking fast, right? But the reason why I don't play on it anymore because of like the shadow nerf and stuff, I just feels terrible. I feel like I don't get any aim assist, you know, cuts on and off. Even now it still does that, so, you know. something I gotta deal with. So you can do the same thing for the ADS. Let's say I wanted to play a very low ADS, so 130. 130, it's like the closest equivalent to like 3 ADS on default. It's not exactly 3, but it's pretty darn close. So boom, I could put on the boost, and as you can see, I have the low ADS, but as soon as I move my stick around, my sensitivity is really fast. And then if I turn this up all the way, look how fast my sensitivity is. And I'm about to show y'all a myth right now, because some people say if you turn your boost up all the way and put on like a really low ADS, you get aimbot like this. You see like the major slowdown. All this is just a placebo. And what I mean by that, since you're playing on this dumb high boost, right? As soon as you get to the target, you're in the aim assist range and it's gonna slow down, right? So it's not that you're getting more aim assist, it's just that when you start aiming at the target, that's when the aim assist cuts on. So no, you're not getting like extra aim assist, it's just, you know, you're in the aim assist range, that's all it is. So you shouldn't do this. I mean, all it's gonna do is just make your sensitivity feel like very clunky and shit. So me personally, I wouldn't do it. I mean, y'all could go ahead and try it if you want to, but you know, that's a myth, because I know like some people like actually make videos and say like, oh, you get extra aim assist doing that. No, you don't. You know what I mean? So yeah. So another thing with ALCs, like I said earlier, with default, the aim assist values are, you know, way better on ALCs. You know, aim assist is definitely there, but it's just not as strong. I'm gonna be real with y'all, it's just not there, man. As y'all can see, I still have good aim and whatnot, but you know, consistency wise, default has it. ALCs, it's just way harder to like be consistent and just aim. So if you're gonna play ALCs, just be prepared, like you will have to put in more time when it comes to just like learning your sensitivity, practicing aiming in general and whatnot. And a lot of people ask, can you replicate 4.3 or 5.4 on ALCs? The answer is no. Like, it's just not gonna feel the same. Like, we've all tried to do it, you just can't do it. I'm gonna keep it a buck, you just can't do it. So, you know, if you don't like default settings, try ALCs. If you think you're already good on default settings and you know you don't want to like have boost and have a high sensitivity and whatnot, just play default. But like I said, if you don't like the way linear feels and classic and all that, go ahead, try ALCs for yourself. You might like it. Me personally, ALCs made me a better player. I mean, me personally, I've been playing on ALCs like my entire time playing Apex. I have played, you know, a lot with default too. You know, my aim is much better on default. However, it's just the feel of ALCs. And when I mean the feel, I mean like, okay, so you have different dynamics of aiming and whatnot. So you have like close range, right? This is like your hip fire. And you have like close range while ADSing. So this is like kind of like right here. And you have like medium range, and then you have like super long range, right? Now, when it comes to long range, I don't like linear because, like I said, you really have to be, too precise to the point where it's so easy to mess up. I don't like classic because it just feels too stiff. So then with ALCs, I was able to, you know, handcraft a sensitivity that feels good for me, and y'all can do the same thing, which is why I'm able to like beam people with the car like from, you know, very far ranges and whatnot. I don't even run ARs in pubs. Sometimes even ranked, like I'll literally like beam with the car like from far away. You know, it's not, you know, that hard. Last thing, so I'm gonna explain what the ramp up time and the ramp up delay does. So this only applies to the boost. So what ramp up does basically, let's say I put this on 0, right? So I have my boost set to max. So as soon as I move my right stick to the max like that, my boost activates, right? So let's say I put on the ramp up time, and basically the amount of time it takes for my sensitivity to transition from the normal to the boost, it's gonna be gradual. So I'm gonna flick my stick all the way to the left. As y'all can see, I don't really get the boost for like probably like half a second, and it just makes it smoother. So You can play around with this. I usually put this on 0%, but since I put my yaw and pitch so low, going from like such a low sends to a high boost, it felt like really clunky, so I had to put up the ramp up time to kind of compensate for it. I put it on 5% and I felt a difference, so I didn't really have to put it up that much. Now what the delay does, it literally delays it, so y'all know as soon as I move my stick I get the boost, but let's say I put this up, it's gonna take like, you know, it's like a slight delay when it comes to the boost. So as y'all can see, it kind of takes a while, and that's all that is. All right, y'all, so that's it for the guide. I just wanted to make a guide, help people out, because I know like when people post like their settings, you know, Apex best settings, and it's just them showing their settings and stuff, that's not really helping you. So figured like, hey, why not make a guide, you know, show some people how to actually like fix their aim and optimize the settings to their likings and whatnot. So other than that, if y'all enjoyed this, make sure y'all drop a like. Make sure y'all comment too. Dropping a comment is really important too, you know. And if you really enjoyed it, then hey, like, you know, subscribe for more videos like this. If y'all want another guide on anything, just let me know what y'all want to see. Other than that, I'm out. I'll catch y'all. Peace out.